Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Blowin Smoke here. I am AJ Gaynor. This is the Talk America Radio Network. Thank you so much for tuning in. Can you imagine what it is that folks are facing down south? Some of you will answer, yes, you can imagine. I am close from living through the hurricanes. I was a Gulf Coast resident for nearly 15 years, had a home there, went through Katrina, went through several other hurricanes. I can imagine somewhat. I've not lived through these kinds of floods that these folks are facing. That is something that I've not experienced firsthand. Friends have, people that I know very well have. I probably have a better understanding of it than someone, sitting in northern Canada or some such place. But can you imagine? We're capable of maybe doing a little more than imagining nowadays with information and technology giving us these pictures and these images and these stories from what's going on in the Houston, southern Texas area, Louisiana area. Ladies and gentlemen, every creature in the wilderness in Mother Nature has been displaced for a huge swath of land and area. Every creature, including the fish. We might think, well, these are floodwaters. Those fish live in the water, AJ. Well, they do, but they're usually in the rivers and the swamps and the lakes and the ocean, not in your living room. The snakes, the spiders, the lizards, the wildlife, every insect, the birds, you think they might be safe? No, because everything that used to live on the ground is now in the trees that can get there if it hasn't been rescued somehow. This is 100% the turning on its head of a geographic area. Completely. Nature and human civilization has been, altered forever. And it's difficult to watch. That's why so many folks give their time. They donate. That's why we see groups like the Cajun Navy and others who are doing the same thing. People volunteering to go and help. That's why people donate money to go and help. We're the most charitable nation on the face of the earth. We've been that way for a very long time. And we watch and we're reminded what the realities are that we face, and that's the key word, reality. We are seeing the reality of what it takes for humans to exist on this planet play out in this hurricane, as we have in every other, in the forest fires and the earthquakes. We'll talk about all of these things because what I'm hearing when I listen to talk radio as well, and when I turn on Rush and Hannity and Levin and some of the others, Savage, some of the others, I'm hearing right now also, I see it on social media, there's a chorus of our side of the aisle saying, see, this is what America is. Doesn't matter the differences, the identity politics, this is why they don't apply. And they're right. We're seeing the other side poke fun or more than that, be outright hateful. And is it possible to say genocidal or xenophobic? Possibly. I mean, if you're a person that tweets like that visiting professor in Florida did, that Texas is getting its instant karma for voting for Trump, then how could we put past that person that they are a xenophobe? How can we think that they're not the type of person who would not bat an eye if all of the people who voted for Trump suddenly were removed from the face of the earth? I mean, he said it. We hear the left say things like that all the time. But that's what I'm hearing, is we're having, it's called to the forefront again, this argument about how divided we really are, and whether or not we're divided at all. A lot of people have it right. It's the media that works to divide us. That has been said. We have been aware of that for a while. That's one of the reasons, most likely, a lot of us decided to go ahead and give Trump a shot, because he battles the media. He goes against it. He doesn't pretend to tolerate the lies, the nonsense, and the manipulation. But this storm and its effect on so many people, once again, has brought this discussion about what it is that unites us to the forefront of the conversation. And I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into that today, because it's not just about the fact that color doesn't matter, gender doesn't matter, religion, creed, shape, all of these things. It doesn't matter. In this crisis, these moments of disaster, we help each other. That's the thing. It's one of the things that assures us that we're still humans, in my opinion. And here's how as I watch this and listen and I think about this, here's what goes through my mind. The result, the conclusion that I reach. There's the real world, and then there's the world that has been created by our televisions and our movies and our media. Media, television, the camera eye, the audio-visual stimuli, the media is the best way to put it. And when I think of media, I'm thinking of the music, the arts that are involved. Everything that gets put in front of a camera and a microphone. The perceptions implanted into our minds by the images and words on our television screens and movie screens that are so carefully crafted to guide our thought, to guide our awareness, what we're aware of, to guide our emotions, what we should be feeling, to guide our values, our principles, to implant in us a contrived moral compass to either direct or stymie our learning, both how we learn and what we learn, to condition us to notions, to behaviors, to create and to tear down taboos. That is what television and the audio-visual medium has done to us over the generations in this country. It has created a place where there is a real world, the one that Harvey just revealed to us, South Texas. That is the real world. The alternate reality is the world that the leftist, liberals, anarchist, Antifa, BLM, communist, and I've heard them referred to as Bolsheviks. The world they inhabit is the one that is created by propaganda and agitation. The way that's accomplished in our country and has been through the generations is through our televisions and our media, through the medium of television and audio, radio, also print, our newspapers, that aspect of our media. Those elements combined have come together to create an alternate reality that is inhabited by liberals, leftists, and unfortunately, it appears to me, about 97% of the Democrat Party. That's why they've been losing elections and why they lost to Trump, why someone like a candidate like Trump could win. That's why. This is the result of their tactic and their agenda and their ideology and their actions in amongst us, the civilized people here in America. TV, movies, media, they've created people, the left, who consciously think and behave as if what they have seen through their televisions and their movie screens and their phone screens and tablets and in the newspapers and all of this, and that they've heard from all of these outlets all of their lives, they think that all of that is what is real. They think it's real. I heard Limbaugh say, there are people who think Game of Thrones that are real. I believe that. I've seen that online. There are people who think that the world that is created by our production teams for all of the channels and movie houses and special effects houses, all of these things, there are people who believe that world exists. They'll believe that there used to be dragons on the planet. All of these things, they think that it is real. These people, here's an example. These people think they know what the moon is like. They know what it's like to travel intergalactically. They know what it's like to always get the bad guy. They know what it's like to meet new alien species on other planets. They know what it's like to grow and evolve with your friends. Everyone, these people that live in this alternate reality, they all think they're as funny as Jerry Seinfeld. They all think that the people, the individuals think that because they have watched these things, they have consumed them, they have taken them in and internalized them, that they have some kind of contextual knowledge of all of these fictitious and created and even historically fictitious and even the true stories, what gets left in, put in, dramatized, created. It's created a large number of people, as agitation and propaganda always have, that live in a different reality than the people that they oppose, than the rest of us, the majority around them. Remember, the Nazi Party was not the majority party in Germany. 30% votes, that's not a majority of a population. That's 30% of a votership. Same kind of arguments we have over here. The minority finds ways to control the majority through these resources, these tools, these acts, these events of propaganda and agitation. It's been done to us here in our country by our televisions and our media and our music, our arts, the audio-visual stimulus that we take in on a daily basis from the time we're born. Most of us, pretty much all of us that are alive now in this country, have been raised on television, radio, print. These people, we saw it beginning in the 50s and 60s. These folks have been convinced that there's a different world out there, that it exists only in their emotional understanding of their own desires and their wishes and their dreams and their empathies and their tolerances, which really all of those things boil down to is a minority of people who believe that they are better than the rest of us. They have a different makeup than us, because what they tell us is that humanity is flawed and that we shouldn't be free because of all of those flaws, and that we should let them be in control because then they can help us with all of those flaws. Well, who was it that took the humanity out of them? Who was it that took that kind of self-destructive, manipulative inability to handle freedom out of those folks and made them the angels, the wholehearted ones? Who? Well, they don't have any immunity to the foibles of humanity. They are just as human as the rest of us. They simply want to be in control of us, where the rest of us, I hope, I believe, those of us on the right side of the aisle and in the middle, want to be in control of ourselves. Today's show is about what? Not only does Harvey show us that we are united, Harvey illustrates for us who amongst us exists in a reality that is actual reality, the dangers, the possibilities, the emergencies, the unpredictability of life, and how we need to be prepared for it and accept it and decide what kind of lives we're going to live in spite of it. This illustrates the separation between those kinds of people and the kinds of people we see in Antifa and BLM and in our mainstream media and in our Democrat Party and on the far left in this country. They are drowning in a false reality that has been completely created by the televisions, the radios, the newspapers, the colleges, the public schools, the community organizing efforts, the social services that were taken control of by the left a long, long time ago. And this has been said over and over and over again over the years. AJ, that's so conspiratorial. Yes. What I'm saying is, and what I'm putting forward, is that these events, like Harvey, Katrina, the rest of them, they show us what is real. And the people who brush it off, who belittle it, who don't understand it, who can't grasp the gravity of what's going on for real people and families and communities, they show us what they're really about. And that is about a false reality. And that is about a future that none of us desire. That future being the one where those people in that false reality see themselves controlling, manipulating, husbanding, and managing you and me and the rest of us. Stay tuned. Welcome to Blowin Smoke. We're going to be right back after this. The Talk America Radio Network. Stay tuned.
How did you become addicted? A friend? Were you at a party and someone said, "Hey, try this"? Then you got the cold sweats and started shaking. And the more you did it, the more it didn't work. So you switched to the needle. Now you're a train wreck. Drinking, drugging, broke. Your family hates you. And you hate you. Get out of your hell on earth now. Call the Detox and Treatment Helpline today for immediate help. In many cases, your insurance may cover the costs. We can't guarantee it, but we can guarantee we have what you need to change your life for the better. Pick up your cell phone and call right now. 800-287-7891. 800-287-7891. 800-287-7891. That's 800-287-7891.
Welcome back to Blowin Smoke, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you'll check out the folks that are kind enough to advertise on the show here. Blowin Smoke. I'm AJ Gaynor. This is the Talk America Radio Network. Today's show about, yes, Harvey shows us how we're not divided. It shows us what real community is. It shows us how good-natured Americans, people in this country, the majority, vast majority really are. We come together when we're all at risk, when we're all threatened, when we're all in that emergency. That's true. What we're fed the rest of the time from our television screens, well, that's a different story. That's what we're talking about. And the difference being, when we have something like this happen, and the fashion mogul that looks like something from a bad Renaissance painting comes out in criticism of our First Lady's shoes in amongst all of these events, or the visiting professor in Florida who says that, it's Texas, that's instant karma. Liberals, leftists, progressives, the far left, the alt-left, show us who they really are in these times of crisis, when reality slaps us in the face, when how vulnerable we are to Mother Nature slaps us in the face. What I have suggested over and over again, and what I feel like is proven by the different reactions to Harvey and to what's happening in South Texas and Louisiana and that region right now, comes from the fact that those people, liberal leftists, the far left, the Democrat Party these days, inhabit a false reality that has been completely created by television. Every scenario, I want to dive back into this. Every scenario has been put on camera and placed or been allowed to become its own kind of an alternate reality. All of these movies, all of these one-hour dramas, we've solved every crime, you and me. We've been red-pilled out of the Matrix, right? We've all stormed the beaches of Normandy because of Saving Private Ryan. We've solved all the cold cases, like on the True TV shows. We've visited all of the wonders of the world on the Travel Channel and Learning Channel. We've eaten the cuisine of the globe with Food Network. You get where I'm going with this. All of these things that we witness and we are given visually, we've experienced them. We have some context. We have a perception. We have an attitude, an idea, judgment, a discrimination or not of all of these things, whether they're fiction or they're true or they're reality. The left lives entirely in that alternate reality that is created by television. They've not had something happen to them that has introduced them to their vulnerability to the environment, to the world, to Mother Nature, to wilderness. The left lives in that alternate reality created by television. They move from scene to scene in their own lives, emotionally flowing along that roller coaster of moment to moment in their environment. All along, they're dependent on the visual and audio stimulus, just like every human is around them and from their immediate environment. But they, again, as I say, since we have battled the aliens, with the movies, if we've seen Star Trek, well, we've explored the galaxy, on and on and on. People really believe, I believe subconsciously, that when someone starts to discuss something like space, something like social issues, something like the climate, something like government fraud, something like a murder case, all of these things that we see have been put on camera and dramatized and fictionalized for our entertainment, what I suggest is that subconsciously, all of us, especially Western civilization in our country, believe we have some kind of experience to draw from, to comment on, or to learn from, or to understand what it is that is being discussed. In other words, what we've seen in our television shows and movies is what we base our thoughts, ideas, perceptions, analysis on, not actual personal experience. In other words, we'll argue about oil pipelines based on an inconvenient truth, the Al Gore movie. Meanwhile, very few of us will have ever stood even close to a pipeline. None of us will have ever gone to school to design them, to maintain them, to build them. But we all know everything we need to know to make a definitive decision on what to do about oil pipelines. Well, this plays out through the liberal line of thinking all of the time. In fact, as I started to say, I picture liberals and leftists and the far left, progressives, Bolsheviks, whatever you want to call them, they are living their own versions of the television dramas, the movies, the reality television, the documentaries, all of those things. That is their perception of reality, is the scene they are currently living. They move from that scene to scene, moment to moment, having big dramatic emotional reactions to the things that are around them. There's even a soundtrack, I would guess, right? Can you imagine what the personal soundtrack of a liberal or an Antifa guy must sound like? It would be melodramatic, morose, dirge of, or dirges that strain to sound like that Antifa person is the main character and they're grandiose and epic. It's funny to think about, but the movies, it's the TV shows, it's the cartoons, it's reality TV, the media, the medium of television, YouTube, social media these days, Facebook, the internet, all together. They have fed us all truths, taboos, ideas, norms, contexts, morals, political correctnesses, perceptions, beliefs. What I suggest is that all of this put together, this medium that is encompassed by the audio-visual technology that we've created, has completely consumed and created what we have to accept as our culture, at least how it is presented to us these days by the media and what we see on our audiovisual devices. The alternate reality that the left lives in, of the racist country, the misogynist country, the patriarchal country, the global warming, all of the things about America that the left, Democrats, and progressives hate, they base it all on what they have been taught and what they have learned and how they have been immersed in this alternate reality by television. That is the pop culture. Our modern pop culture is completely a manufactured world, a manufactured reality, manufactured by television, producers, writers, artists, actors, music. It is now to the point where the left, many of the citizens of our society, the folks that we identify as left, the folks that are enemies of our Bill of Rights, that are enemies of our Constitution, that are enemies of America, that are openly full of animosity towards you and me because we don't agree with them politically, they have been entirely consumed by this alternate reality that was created by our television, our internet, social media, by that industry that has been growing for well over a century. Prove it. Well, that's what I feel like, and that's what I've been saying. This event with Harvey, this disaster, proves it. Hurricane Sandy proves it. Hurricane Katrina proved it. Earthquakes, tsunamis, 9/11 proves it. When there has been an event, an emergency, a disaster, a catastrophe that has threatened human life, we are immediately given that wake-up call. We are introduced to the reality that we live in. The reality being, our civilization is a result of our manufacture, our economy, our arts, our trades, our skills. All of those things have come from human endeavor, not from nature's provisions. We live in these amazing civilized areas where our environment is something that is so separate from us. When the air conditioning's on, the air is filtered, our water's filtered, the food is cold and fresh and from around the globe. All of it. It's this comfy, removed, plush, amazing existence for everyone. Just about everyone. Very, very few in our country live on a level that would be familiar to someone from as little as 150 years ago. And when it's all taken from us by our environment, by nature, by our living on the planet, that is our wake-up call. That is our introduction to the reality that we inhabit. And then that, of course, when we come to that reality, when we come to that recognition of reality, then our education can begin on what our freedom means to us, on the value of our liberty. Every crisis throughout much of history, if not all, has been proof of the reality that we all inhabit. It's one where when we're in danger or when we're in crisis, as I say, communities, people come together. These crises, these catastrophes, they're one of the few ways left that can efficiently introduce a human being to reality. Individuals experience these kinds of things in that microcosm level a lot. With medical issues, injuries, near-death experiences, accidents. As I called them before, they're wake-up calls. They're situations where maybe you're simply on your bike and you wreck and you nearly die, you nearly bleed to death from something else. You're diagnosed with an awful chronic disease as a young person. Those are all of our wake-up calls that introduce to us that we are part of an environment and a climate and a planet, and that we are subject to it, and that what we're doing here is trying to survive it, and we're doing it so well that now we have words for it like Western civilization, freedom, liberty, capitalism. It's hard to explain that to someone when we're sitting around smoking a cigar and sipping cognac after a big steak dinner in an air-conditioned room with the finest woven cloths wrapping our bodies and the cleanliness and hygiene in the medical world. All of this, we have lost absolute touch with where we're from, what we are, what we came from, and what we have should mean to us. That connection for so many is either very small and minute, maybe a little bigger for some, but for most of us, we just can't imagine. We cannot imagine, unless we have lived it, what it is like to be slapped in the face by Mother Nature in reality like this. in the parts of the world where we have most muted the effects of weather and wilderness are the same areas where we have become most embedded in that alternate reality. In other words, our population centers is where liberalism, progressivism, the Bolsheviks, the anti-Americans, that is where they grow and thrive. When one of these bastions of civilization, like Houston or the Eastern Seaboard or New Orleans, whatever it might be, or San Francisco with the earthquakes and the fire, when one of these bastions of civilization is hit with a big wake-up call from Mother Nature like this, the people who inhabit those regions, the people that inhabit those former paradises, realize quickly things like this. My opinion of transgender legislation isn't really all that important right now because I am cold and hungry. I have no water, my children are starving. I have no food and no shelter. Suddenly we realize, yeah, we can disagree about abortion. Yeah, we can disagree about gay marriage. Yeah, we can disagree about conflict with whoever, Iran, North Korea, Afghanistan, whatever it is. Yeah, we can disagree about this, that, and the other thing. It condenses and immerses us in the reality of our struggle to survive on a planet and in all of these different environments that can end our struggle at any moment. Yeah, it's not a happy thought. It's not, well, goodness gracious, that's wonderful, let's go. It's one of those things, it's intimidating. It can cause fears. Like, well, my goodness, what if that happens to me? That's the question that we ask anytime we see a news story, whether it's a murder, a carjacking, a kidnapping, or these kinds of crises and disasters that take place. What if that happened to me? We all ask ourselves that question. We won't know the answer until it's there in our faces. But what happens and what we see these days, and with Harvey, and I'm so thankful for, is communities and people coming together. That's the way that it is. When we're all threatened, when we recognize the things that threaten us all, then we're all willing to band together and help one another overcome them. That's why I can argue confidently that the argument of gay marriage doesn't threaten us all. There's no threat from it. The argument of abortion is not one of a threat to all humanity. The argument of patriarchy, it's not a threat to all humanity. The argument of racism, it's not a threat. We've proven in this nation over the years that we have eradicated it. We have put it behind us. We have ended it. That is why we are the melting pot that we are. The folks who don't believe that, they live in that alternate reality. They believe what television has taught them. Long in this segment. Got to take a break. We'll be back after this. This is Blowin Smoke on the Talk America Radio Network.
Do you use the expensive blue or yellow pills to charge your sex life? Are you thinking about it? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pills deliver the exact same results for less than $3. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. And right now, radio callers will get 44 blue or yellow pills for $120 with free discreet shipping. You can save more than $700 off pharmacy prices. Charge your sex life now and save a ton of money. Call now and get your 44 pills and save over $700 and qualify for free shipping. Stop overpaying and call right now.
800-296-1289. 800-296-1289. 800-296-1289. That's 800-296-1289.
Are you tired of paying high prices for TV channels you don't watch? Of course you are. You want to watch and pay for the channels you like. Now you can take back control of your TV with Dish's Flex Pack. Get over 50 of America's favorite channels for just $39.99 per month, and then add the channel packs that you want. And your TV price won't go up for 2 years, guaranteed. Plus, when you call today, you'll get free standard installation in up to 6 rooms and a free HD DVR upgrade. Need more channels? Dish offers loaded channel lineups from $54.99 per month, featuring over 190 channels, and HBO is included for a full year. And for a limited time, GoDish will give you a $100 prepaid Visa card when you sign up and mention offer code GIFT100. Call now, 800-795-5573, 800-795-5573, 800-795-5573.
Packages, prices, and promotions subject to change. Gift card courtesy of GoDish.com. Call for details.
Welcome back to Blowin Smoke, ladies and gentlemen. AJ Gaynor with you. We're talking today about what we have been discussing since Hurricane Harvey hit and the devastation that it has meted out on that part of our country, the effects that it has globally. Starts that conversation of, well, we're not as divided as the media believes. These issues of race and gender and all of these things, they don't matter. We are neighbors. We are fellow citizens. We help one another in times of need. All of those things are true. The other reality being, we still are tasked with surviving. I summed it up this way. We are still tasked with trying to survive living on this planet. The left, liberals, Democrats, Bolsheviks, they believe that we are controlling this planet, our environment, and the climate, that we're killing this planet, our environment, and the environment, and that somehow we're masters of the world around us. That's another lesson from this. We are masters of nothing. We are masters of ourselves if we're lucky and we spend our lives working at it. Again, I left off last segment talking about the vulnerability we all have to Mother Nature, to the wilderness, to the wild, to living on this planet. We forget it in our air conditioning, with our filtered water and our amazing food from around the globe, and our just the technology, the advancement of human skill and knowledge and application. We are the luckiest folks around. Disasters remind every human, everywhere, that we're not nearly so in control. That reminds us that we don't really have as much security as we thought, or we'd like to think, or as we take for granted believing that we have. Just how good we have it here in the United States, it's something that's hard to not take for granted. It's hard to remain aware of it. I would suggest that the people in our society who remain most aware of it are our older generations, those who've come before and didn't have the things that we have. But then you tie in our military, our veterans, the people who are currently serving. Then you tie in the folks who have been slapped in the face, been given one of those wake-up calls by the environment, the folks that are suffering now from Harvey, the folks that suffered from Katrina, folks that have suffered through the tsunamis. Think of Puerto Rico, the folks in Japan who suffered through that tsunami and then the aftermath of all of that. There are large numbers of human beings who are subjected to the power, the cataclysmic power of this planet, consistently throughout our history. It's why we have the awarenesses that we do of how important it is to be responsible and to think ahead and to learn and to prepare and to value freedom and liberty in the pursuit of happiness and to really be capable of valuing the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the framework that we have here that, quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, we watch the images from Houston and from South Texas and what's going on with the flooding. We see people with boats and kayaks helping people out of great homes, out of, as I say, it's all put on display for us here. The difference is our population has possessions, has the means to help themselves because we're a free country, one that's based on capitalism. Puerto Rico is the perfect example, a nation that did not have the means. The people there, the citizens, did not have the means to help themselves after that kind of disaster. But countries like Japan and the United States and others, where there is either some modicum of capitalism or capitalism is practiced to whatever maximum degree it can be, we can help ourselves. We are not dependent on a FEMA or a President Trump or Obama or Bush, whoever it might be. Yet the media wants it to be all about what your government is doing for you. How amazing it is that this span of time since President Kennedy and his speech with that utterance, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. A Democrat, ladies and gentlemen, amazing. The 180-degree shift by the Democrat Party to the party of the government, for the government, by the government. As long as they are the government. That's what we've learned about these folks. And so when we're reminded that we don't need to take up arms against one another over the issues of abortion and gay marriage and racism in our country, when we experience these kind of things, it kind of puts into perspective the call to calm down that I've heard from people. I've said it myself. Can we all calm down? Do we need to be so reactive to these kinds of social exchanges, interactions, events, issues? They've become very melodramatic and very reactionary and very emotional. And I think that's what I'm kind of tying this in with this argument about. This event, Harvey, these kinds of events with this kind of devastation, loss of life, threat to life, basically the removal of civilization from a vast region, we're reminded we can disagree on these issues. They're not life and death. They're not worth punching each other over, hitting, getting violent in any fashion. We're reminded that the idea is that we can talk about these kinds of things in this country and that there will be some kind of action follow, but that we don't have to drive ourselves to the edge of extinction, at least as a community, as a culture, as a society, as a nation, simply because we don't all see things the same way. So, again, I guess, how does this happen? How is it that we can become, or so many of us, can become so susceptible to the images and the words that come from the television screens and the silver screens and from the records and the movies and the newspapers and the blogs and all of the above, the YouTube channels? It's education. We've known that for a really long time. So has the left. So has the enemy of the United States. It's education. It's how smart, if you have a smart human being, they'll react, usually, in some pretty good ways when challenges are faced, when something comes up, when there's an emergency. They'll understand fundamentally what works and doesn't work, the good and the bad side, and what should be, what should we do about different situations, and sometimes whether we should do anything at all about certain situations. Our enemies have understood that education is the key to undermining this nation, our freedom, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. And you've heard folks like myself and pundits from the right and the center talk about it for generations now, literally. The left is using our educational system to inculcate. I don't like to use the word brainwash. It works, it's accurate, but I don't like to use it. It indoctrinates, and it inculcates young minds with a false reality, a false perception of reality, a false reaction to the false reality. It creates a whole list of issues that cause you and me and anyone else that happens to fall for it to be manipulatable by manipulating our emotions. When these issues of climate change, abortion, racism, misogyny, name it, when they come up, the better a job the left and the bad guys, the enemies of America, can do to turn it into a very emotional, anger-filled, life and death situation kind of an argument, to sensationalize the issue, that helps them. That helps the bad guys in the end, because we've all proven that we can be manipulatable. Well, AJ, that doesn't make sense. So what does that mean? Well, it means that all of the people who want to so fundamentally change our nation, what they demand and what they desire and what they need is an equal and opposite reaction. What they need and demand is for us to meet their fire with fire of our own. And what I'm suggesting is that plays right into their hands. And in the end, they end up with more influence and power because of it. It goes back to what I said about Antifa and BLM in the past on this show, and that is that, and also the white supremacists, the KKK, all of those extreme elements that endorse and bring first violence and anger and hatred. We need to marginalize them, to ignore them, to behave as if they do not exist, to neglect to give them attention. And in fact, the only effort, aside from the effort of ignoring them, is to make it as difficult as possible for them to find success using the very society and system that they hate so much. In other words, if you're an Antifa member, you don't get welfare. Or how about this? Or in addition to, how about this? There's a list of things you don't get. If you're going to openly be someone who hates this country, wants its destruction, wants full-on revolution and replacement with some other form of government, why is it that you don't then give up your legally granted rights? I'm not talking about your unalienable ones. I'm talking about your legally granted rights to vote, driving, hunting licenses. And then there can be a discussion further on what other rights need to be removed. There's some fundamental stuff here that every human being should get. Privacy, self-defense, I understand those kinds of things. But there has to be some way that we can marginalize these types of actors in our community, these types of people in our societies, these kinds of neighbors in our communities, without doing them physical harm, without or maybe in a way that would cause them to do more digging and thinking and wondering and searching for what actually is. But again, that will only happen secondarily to the ability of us as a nation, as people, our generation, the ones before us and the ones after, to educate our youth about the world it is that they inhabit and are born into, the era that they live in, the realities that we face, the threats, the dangers, the positives, the hopes that we share. Some of the most difficult and grand ideas to try to teach. But I believe the reason, or at least it's my opinion, one of the reasons that we have reached this amazing level that we have technologically and socially, culturally, globally, is because all of those things happen naturally from us as human beings. And I would even venture further to say that because this civilization, this part of the world was founded on these principles and ideas and morals and this code that comes from that Judeo-Christian teaching, the Golden Rule, the 7 deadly sins, the 10 commandments, these ideas of turning the other cheek, of being neighbors and citizens, letting God be the judge, there being a higher power that will hold us accountable for our behavior. I tweeted this past week, I'll wrap this segment up this way: when people value only the laws of man and not the laws of some greater good or greater being, those people become capable of believing that they, or becoming themselves, an authority unto themselves. In other words, they replace God. And then eventually they replace the laws of man with their own laws. Obviously my tweet wasn't this wordy. They replace the laws of man, they replace God with themselves. They become an authority unto themselves, and then they become a danger to themselves and to others. It's a basic description of a Hitler, of a Mussolini, of a Mao, of a Stalin. The list goes on. Saddam Hussein, all of the above. People who have replaced some higher power and have replaced the laws of man with their own laws. They are the biggest dangers that we face on this planet. Long in this segment, it's going to be a short fourth. We'll get a book to shove in your skull and we'll wrap it all up. Coming back after this on Blowin Smoke with AJ, right here on the Talk America Radio Network.
The following message is brought to you by Health Markets, your first choice when you need health insurance for your small business. Do you offer health insurance to your employees? Call us now and see if you can save money. Do you want to offer vision and dental to your employees? Call us. Do you think you're paying too much for your current health insurance? Call us. Do you want somebody else to do all the legwork and search thousands of health plans from over 180 health insurance companies nationwide? Call us. We're Health Markets, and thanks to a little-known solution, we could help your business save thousands of dollars on health insurance costs and save your employees money too. Our service is free. Don't miss the great savings. Call now.
800-472-5145. 800-472-5145. 800-472-5145. 800-472-5145. That's 800-472-5145.
Health Markets Insurance Agency is DBA of InSphere Insurance Solutions, Inc., licensed in all states. Product availability varies.
How did you become addicted? A friend? Were you at a party and someone said, hey, try this? Then you got the cold sweats and started shaking. And the more you did it, the more it didn't work. So you switched to the needle. Now you're a train wreck. Drinking, drugging, broke. Your family hates you. And you hate you. Get out of your hell on earth now. Call the Detox and Treatment Helpline today for immediate help. In many cases, your insurance may cover the costs. We can't guarantee it, but we can guarantee we have what you need to change your life for the better. Pick up your cell phone and call right now. 800-287-7891. 800-287-7891. 800-287-7891. That's 800-287-7891.
Welcome back to Blowin Smoke, ladies and gentlemen. AJ Gaynor with you. A shorter segment here because this discussion we've been having today about what Harvey shows us about the differences between, well, the right and the left in this country. The people who appreciate America, understand what it is, the opportunity it provides, that feel some sense of patriotism and some kind of national pride, compared to those kinds of people who hate this country, despise it, and have been taught to do so throughout their lives by television. For me, Harvey proves it all. The reality is that we live on a world we still are challenged to survive, whether it's disease, crisis, destruction, cataclysm, simple accident. Those of us who spend a lot of time outdoors camping, hunting, and fishing understand what I'm talking about. And that's the reality, where we're still lucky to survive a life on this planet. We're not controlling the climate, we're not destroying this planet. We're lucky if we live a full life on it because of all of the risk and the elements of danger. And to me, that is reality. It's not the comfortable, cushiony, full, satisfied, satiated, warm, safe existence that we experience so consistently here in our day and age. It is, human history is our getting ourselves out of the dirt and out of the caves. And what happens when we are victims of civilization being stripped away from us puts us right back there in the dirt. And it reminds us that the only reason we can think, do, feel, say, have, possess, experience the things that we do is because of the amazing achievements of mankind in its battle against the elements, the climate, the earth itself. That many believe gave birth to us and others believe we were placed upon. It is our biggest competitor. It is the thing, life on earth is the thing we must conquer, the test we must pass. And so for a book to shove in your skull today, before I leave you, I am going to suggest a series. There will be many of you who will have heard of it, and maybe many of you who will have read it. But it's called Earth's Children, is the series. It's a series of 6 books, and the author's name is Jean M. Auel, or A-U-E-L. I say Auel. And the first book in the series, you might be familiar with it this way. The Clan of the Cave Bear is the name of the book, and that was made into a movie in the 80s, and it starred Daryl Hannah, and it was panned by the critics. It was horrible. They never made any more movies. I thought the movie was awful as well, but I read the books. I've read this series, and it kind of ties in with what we're talking about here, about how human beings have worked throughout our history to raise ourselves from the dirt, to get ourselves out of the caves, from the mastery of fire and right on through the rest of it, which for many is a boring subject in school, but for myself and many others as we get into adulthood is something that's fascinating, trying to understand who we are, what we are, why we're here. I think books and works like this help us have discussions and ideas and thought processes that contribute to that in our own lives. This takes place 35 to 25,000 years before present in what we would call modern-day France in that region, but that's back during the Ice Age. So there are glaciers stretching down nearly to the northern coast of France. And of course, our land mass doesn't look the way that it does now because so much of the water was bound up in ice that, there was more land at that point than there is now. But the series of books follows the central character. I say Ayla. I think a lot of people say Isla, A-Y-L-A. And she's Cro-Magnon, and she's orphaned at a young age and is raised by a Neanderthal man who, in this book, in this series, still inhabit the planet and coexist, would be near the end of their existence with Cro-Magnon man. And it spans, as I say, 6 books in this woman's life from very young, maybe 5 years old, right on through to when the book's cut off. And a lot of it's fiction, a lot of it's, dramatized. It is a work of fiction. It's an author's take on what might have been and how things could have been. But she is world-renowned here and has gained respect from archaeologists and folks who study these kinds of sites and digs and paleoanthropology, all that kind of stuff. She's gained a lot of respect there. Phenomenal books, everything from cultures and societies and religions and practices and beliefs to the food and the tools, the clothing, the environment, the animals that existed during the day. This is a phenomenal experience. And as I said earlier in the show, when we read and take in books and stories like this, it almost gives us the idea that we have some kind of real experience or context with which to understand that time frame in our past. We weren't there, but this person's ability to describe it and to tell a fascinating story of a human life and several human lives throughout that time period is phenomenal. I'd recommend it to you. It's Earth's Children. The book 1 being The Clan of the Cave Bear, the author being Jean M. All. Highly recommended. You can find it anywhere. I hope you'll check it out. My thoughts, my family's thoughts and prayers to the people of Houston. What you're going through is on a scale that what I experienced through Katrina there in the North Shore, Louisiana, there, Mandeville, Covington. What I went through wasn't even close. I can imagine how much worse it can be there. We're thinking of you. We know that we'll pull through this. This will become something that we will talk about for the rest of our lives together. And that is something that I think is a positive, that from now on in our nation's history, we will be looking back on this Hurricane Harvey event in the summer of 2017 that did its work to remind us what connects us and to give us perspective on what divides us. Thanks for tuning in this week. We'll be back next week. Until then, be safe, read books, check out Earth's Children, Jean M. All. And remember, we've got it pretty good. It's pretty cushy, pretty comfy. Our stomachs are full. A majority of our population's fat, right? Be good and be brave. And until next time, bye Earth.